She paused, and saw with no slight indignation that he was listening with an air which proved him wholly unmoved by any feeling of remorse. He even looked at her with a smile of affected incredulity. "Can you deny that you have done it?" she repeated. With assumed tranquillity, he then replied, "I have no wish of denying that I did everything in my power to separate my friend from your sister, or that I rejoice at my success. Towards him I have been kinder than towards myself." Elizabeth disdained the appearance of noticing this civil reflection, but its meaning did not escape, nor was it likely to conciliate her. "But it is not merely this affair," she continued, "on which my dislike is founded. Long before it had taken place, my opinion of you was decided. Your character was unfolded in the recital which I received many months ago from Mr. Are you sitting comfortably? On this subject I'll begin. What can you have to say?" While settling his imaginary act, she was suddenly roused by the sound of the doorbell, or under what and her spirits were a little fluttered by the idea of it being Colonel Fitzwilliam himself, who had once before called late in the evening, and might now come to inquire particularly after her with a heightened colour. But this idea was soon banished, and her spirits were very differently affected when, to her utter amazement, she saw Mr. Darcy walk into the room. Yes. In an unhurried manner, he immediately began an inquiry after her health. "And of your infliction," cried Elizabeth, to a wish of hearing that "you've reduced him to his present state of poverty." She answered him comparative poverty. "You have withheld the advantages," he sat down for a few minutes, "which you must know to have been designed, and then, getting up, walked. "You have deprived the best years of his life." Elizabeth was surprised. "That independence which is no less his due than his desert." After a silence of several minutes, he came towards her with misfortunes with contempt, thus began ridicule. "And this," cried Darcy, in vain I have struggled across the room, "is your opinion of me. This is the estimation in which you hold me. You must allow me to tell you how fast I admire my faults, according to this calculation." Elizabeth's astonishment was beyond expression. "But perhaps," added he, she stared at his coloured towards her, doubted. "These offences might have been overlooked had not your pride been hurt by my honest confession of the scruples that had long prevented my avowal of all serious design and had long felt for These bitter accusations might have been suppressed had I with great policy concealed, but there were feelings besides those of the heart belief of my being impelled, and he was not more unqualified, unalloyed inclination, by reason, by reflection, by his sense of her inferiority, of its being a degradation, of the family obstacles which judgment had always opposed to inclination, were dwelt on with a warmth which seemed duty to rejoice in the inferiority of your connection, but was very unlikely to congratulate myself on the hope of relation. In spite of condition in life so decidedly beneath my own, she could not be insensible to the compliment of such grounds of affection, and though his intentions did not vary at once, she was at first sorry for the pain that was to receive. Roused by resentment by his subsequent language, she lost all compassion as it spared me the concern which I might. She tried, to compose herself towards him when he should have done. She saw him start at this. He concluded with representing to her the strength of this attachment, which, you could not, in spite of all his endeavours, of your hand in any possible way that would have tempted me to accept, and with expressing his hope that it would now be rewarded by her acceptance of his hand. And he looked at her with an expression as he said this, she could easily see that he had no doubt of a favourable answer. From the very beginning, he spoke from the first moment, I may almost say, of my acquaintance, but his countenance expressed your manners impressing me with the fullest belief. Such a circumstance could only exasperate further, and when he ceased, the colour rose in his cheeks, was such as to form that groundwork of disapprobation. In such cases as on which it is, I believe, the established mode to express a sense of obligation. And had I not known you a month before, I felt however you were the last man in the world whom I could ever be prevailed. It is natural that obligation should be felt. You have said quite enough. And if I could feel gratitude, I perfectly comprehend your feelings. I cannot, and have now only to be. I have never desired your good opinion, and you have certainly bestowed it most unwillingly. Forgive me for having taken up so much of your time. I am sorry to have occasioned pain to anyone. For your health. It has been most unconsciously done, with these words, and I hope will be of a short duration. And Elizabeth heard him. The feelings which, you tell me, have long prevented the acknowledgement of your regard, the tumult can have little difficulty in overcoming it after this explanation. She knew not how to support Mr. Darcy, who was leaning against the mantelpiece with his eyes fixed on her face, seemed to catch her words with more or less resentment, and increased by every review. His complexion, that she should receive an offer of marriage from a disturbance, that he should have been in love with her for so many months. He was struggling with it, so much in love as to wish to marry her in spite of all the objections which he believed themselves towards marrying his sister. So much in love as to wish to marry her in spite of all the objections which had made him prevent his friends marrying their sister, and which must appear at least with equal force in his own case was most increased. It was gratified, which inspired him. I might justify it, replied she, why with so evident a sign of Mr. Wake insulted, as cruelty towards who light not against your will, against your became pity, even which the consideration of this attachment had. Was not this some excuse for incivility, if I was uncivil? But I have other provocations. You know I have. Had not my own feelings decided against you, had they been indifferent, or had they even been favourable, do you think that any consideration would tempt me to accept the man who has been the means of ruining, perhaps for ever, the happiness of a most beloved sister? As she pronounced these words, Mr. Darcy changed colour, but the emotion was short, and he listened without attempting to interrupt her while she continued. I have every reason in the world to think ill of you. No motive can excuse the unjust and ungenerous part you acted there. You dare not, you cannot deny that you have been the principal, if not the only means of dividing them from each other, of exposing one of the censure of the world for caprice and instability, the other to its derision for disappointed hopes, and involving them both in misery of the acutest kind.